Bible is a collection of text, and some books have multiple genres within them. And so some things are not metaphorical, some things are ostensibly historical. We do have some documents in the Bible where there are extra biblical sources, meaning sources outside of the Bible, that you can align these things and go, oh, that's when that happened. They mesh with the historical record, right? There's propaganda in the Bible, particularly in the Hebrew Bible, talking about the great things that kings did, and or the bad things that those kings over there did, and all that kind of stuff. So there's propaganda. There's erotic poetry in the Bible. We've talked about that on here, that most scholars think is about unwed lovers, right? So the Bible's not consistent on sex either, shockingly enough. So it's not all literal or metaphorical. And the reason that question was asked was because I mentioned that Genesis is, in the early parts, the primeval history is origin myth for the Israelite people. And myth does not necessarily mean that it's a fake thing or that it's not true. It's trying to establish truth through stories. And so that leads to the question of, was the fall inevitable? It depends on the theologian that you listen to, but it presupposes an idea, in my mind, that the creation narrative is capital T true, that it actually happened that way. And the thing about that is that it's an Israelite origin myth, meaning it's their story. It's not necessarily the story for all of humanity, as mostly conservative Christians see it that way, right? They believe in a literal first Adam and first Eve and all that stuff. I do not. I was listening to Dr. Pete Enns, a biblical scholar at Eastern University, which is here in Pennsylvania today. Mm-hmm. And in his opinion, he said, look, Adam is an idealized version of Israel. It's not a literal single person, because in the Genesis narratives, you've got other people. Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelled in the land of Nod because he was afraid people were going to kill him for killing his brother. Well, who are all these would-be murderers? If it's only Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, ain't nobody going to kill him. So there had to be other people around, right?
And who did he find to marry?
Right, yeah. And we did a play when I was in high school called Inherit the Wind, and that was about the Scopes monkey trial. And one of the lawyers was like, where did those people come from? Like, who are they? Because
well, the scriptures does say male and female, he created them.
Exactly.
A lot of people skip over that part. Male
right.
And he created them.
Simultaneously in Genesis 1.
There's a lot to unpack there. If the creation story is what you believe, you have to establish a premise of
right.
That's the premise.
Yeah. So was the fall inevitable? In some ways, I'd say yes, because human beings are human beings. We are human. We're bound to be fallible, etc. Irenaeus, one of the early theologians, said, of course, it was inevitable. We're like little children who don't know any better. And so clearly that's going to happen, right? And that idea that we're sinful by nature, or that we're going to do things that let us down, that let ourselves down, let others down, harm others, etc., is pretty ubiquitous. One thing that I lean towards more now is kind of this process theology view that does not have God being omnipotent and omniscient, but rather a non-coercive God who can understand or know all of the potential things that might happen without being a puppet master, and giving free will to the creation, and then drawing all things through non-coercive means, luring towards more love, more diversity, more community, etc. And in that view of why does evil and suffering happen, it's because we have free will and we don't always listen to that sort of whisper from God, etc. And we're fallible. And evil does exist because in the system that God created, that is a potential. But it's not like saying God is culpable for the evil. It's just it's just a natural result of things being